got paper, pencil, there are a few things I need to tell you. First of all, some of you are wondering about my dad. I did take my mom on over there. The caregiver is believing that it won't be too long until he passes. But from my experience, when I looked at him, he's breathing far too regularly at this point. And also, when she tried to do something to give him medication last night, he fought her. So I don't think he's quite ready yet. Okay, so some of the things I want to tell you so we don't have to do it later. This is information, and you're going to say, well, I don't need that. You are going to come across somebody this week that does, and you're going to go, oh man, that's right. The preacher told me so-and-so. What did he say? Okay, first of all, Congressman Babin's office is functional. And if you call the number, you'll get a response even if it's being sent on to a cell phone. Linda, in his office, is in charge of making sure that anybody, hey Brother Martin, that anybody that is dealing with problems with FEMA or government checks or that sort of thing can be taken care of. Linda told us most people are filling out their FEMA documentation and they're doing it wrong the first time, they've never done it before, and it's not real simple. And so they get rejected and they're heartbroken, when in fact what they need to do is call us and let us take them through the process, and usually they'll get results then immediately because we can help them fill out the form. The problem for some is going to be if they do it the first time and they get rejected and then they wait. Once you've waited 30 days, you can no longer apply. So from the first time you try, you have 30 days to get something done. You say, well, why would I be talking to FEMA? Congressman Babin's office says 75 to 80% of the homes in his district were somehow affected by flooding, and 12% of those people had flood insurance. So FEMA is the group that's going to be able to help them. They could receive anything from $500 to $33,300 depending on their approval process. And so what they're trying to encourage people to do is that if they get the promise of $33,300, please encourage the people not to use the money for tear out. Not to use it for tear out. They'll have nothing to rebuild. They should try to get on Facebook or online with Southern Baptist of Texas, with the Texas Baptist Men. Call local churches, contact Franklin Graham's organization, Samaritan's Purse. Do something of that sort to get their house cleaned out. And then hang on to the other money to be able to rebuild to some level. So that's why I'm telling you today, because you're going to be able to help other folks. Today here, you're seeing materials along the sides of the walls. There are materials also in the dining hall, bags of groceries, food, there's water in the foyer, all those materials. And again, you're going to say to me, but I don't need that. Okay, somebody else does. And how are they going to get it unless somebody thinks of them and takes it by? And so God dumped over a whole pretzel truck somewhere between here and Delaware so that y'all could have pretzels. And for those of you who say, well, pretzels are kind of bland, there are pretzels in there that are mustard onion pretzels. Okay? So if you're one of those folks, God is thinking of you as well. All right. Now.
Phone
numbers or anything?
Babin.
Okay, Babin's office. No, it's in the phone book. It's just the normal phone number 883, whatever it is. Okay, and like I said, you can get with Texas Baptist Men, Southern Baptist of Texas, and those kinds of folks. You can go to their Facebook page and fill in the information there. Now, here's the other thing I have to tell you. We had a pastors meeting, Golden Triangle Baptist Network, sitting there with our leadership. They informed us that Jerry Redkey, who is the former director of missions in Sabine Neches Association, was now hired by our association as a disaster recovery specialist for our association. And he wanted everybody to know that there are supplies at First Baptist Church Vidor, at First Baptist Church Mauriceville, at Eagle Heights Baptist Church. He didn't know about us because the things that you see, most of which came from the state of Delaware, via Fred, Texas. Went from Delaware to Fred, from Fred to here. And so there are places that you can send people to get materials. Some of you have been looking for an antimicrobial, and you haven't been able to find it. We have a certain amount of concrobium here, and it's in that sound room right over there, and we have some pump sprayers in there as well. And so if that's a need that you have today, we would ask that you try to take it, but make sure you use first what you know you're going to need. Take a gallon, take 2, don't take 4 and 5. It's not really, for you to clean with. You can use bleach to do your initial cleaning, Shockwave, things of that sort. But when you get to the concrobium, you got everything pressure washed out, everything's clean, sheetrock's cut, everything's down, and now this is the way we want it to be. Let it dry a little bit, spray it with concrobium, and that's going to inhibit the growth of mold and mildew. Shockwave will do that. It's a different product. Concrobium is supposed to be better in some regard. Ben Hodges tells me that the very best product is something called Microban, B-A-N, Microban. And the problem with that is it's generally only available professionally. So you would have to maybe find a custodial supply or somewhere that's open. Oh, look at there. What a staff we got on the sound and the PowerPoint today. So there you go. That's his office. All right. So they told us at the meeting we're on our own. They said don't be expecting to see more people from Texas Baptist Men or any groups like that. Don't expect to see any folks from Alabama, Mississippi, from any of the states east of us, because when the disaster gets this big, the states turn the disaster relief process over to the North American Mission Board. And the North American Mission Board picks all the resources and divides them out as equally as they possibly can through all the affected areas. Which means that Mississippi and Louisiana and folks like that are going to be going to Florida, to Georgia. We don't know what the effects are going to be now that it's coming up more the West Coast. It's covered the whole state, but it's coming up the West Coast. How far into Alabama it will go. But whereas in the past, the flood of 16 and our other hurricanes, we had groups coming from all over the country, we might not be expecting that. We have been notified directly by a church from North Carolina. The pastor has intention of coming. We'll see what happens to that. But Steve Smith, for those of you who know the Smiths and know Steve, who is a missionary out on the field from our church, this pastor is a friend of Steve's and wanted to come and work where he can make a difference somewhere in Steve's sphere of influence in the past. So we're watching for them. I know that there's some personal groups from Louisiana that are going to be coming to help various folks. But here's what I need for you to do. All of that to say is, if Nick needs to take out his cabinets, and so does Robert, and so does Henry Freeze, then who should be the crew and Ben Hodges? who's going to be the crew to help Nick? Everybody else that needs to take out cabinets. And when they do it, then what? They go to Roberts and they take out cabinets. They go to Ben's and they take out cabinets. So y'all need to be making each other aware. Just call each other and say, where are you in the process? And so can I help you do some big job you can't do by yourself, and then you can help me do that big job that I can't do by myself. And so keep that in mind, because what they're saying is if you're not expecting a lot of help from the outside, when you say, who's going to help me? The answer is, look around. But they don't know you need help. How can they help you? Okay, so this is important. Now, a lot of information is going through the church, and I've been keeping track of y'all. Ann Glass has been helping me, and other people. And so whatever we can do to try to arrange something on a big task, then we will try to do that. Okay, I'm trying to make sure. Okay, some of your folks, you're saying I'm not even going to apply through my windstorm thing, but if you're going to use FEMA, you probably ought to go ahead and have your windstorm guy come out so that you can get the rejection. And then when you meet with the FEMA people, they will be happy to see you already have the rejection from your windstorm people. That would help them in their process. Okay. All right. Next is the schools need prayer. They all need prayer. They are trying to discover how they can find places to have school. I believe I was told, I might be wrong, but I believe I was told there were only 2 school structures in Little Cypress and Mauriceville that did not take water.
Correct.
Okay. So at this point, not only is our school district trying to figure out what to do, but in Deweyville, they're wondering if they're going to have students to have school. In Mauriceville, there are some of the ones that got water significantly. I talked to Kevin Brown at First Baptist Church, and he says he believes that between 75 and 80% of his congregation was flooded. So it's going to be something that we need to pray for our school administrators and all of the people who are having to make decisions about these things. All right. Before I have a prayer and we look at this message together today, I'm wondering if there's not someone here today that has a testimony that would, and Sarah, I don't know if you have do we have, no, we don't have a wire, everything. We have a wire. A testimony today of some of the things you've seen God at work accomplishing. Because if there's someone here today that's very, very discouraged, it might be very encouraging to them to hear how God is at work, and they could be praying and asking God's direction in their situation as well. So let's hear some of the awesome things that God has done. Because I've heard y'all talk about Him already. Don't be shy.
I tell you right now, God is great, He's good, He's wonderful, He's merciful, He's kind. I mean, I've seen all of these things in my travel. Not planned travel, but to where I was shuffling around. I've seen great people that you would just normally look at and think there was nothing, but they had great goodness in it. And I saw some sadness too, but also the word there when I needed it. There's always somebody coming up and saying this or doing that or doing the other. There's gracious people that give me their names, numbers, and wants me to call them and all this. I made lots and lots of friends during my journey. But never was I blessed any more than one lady that come up next to me for a while. Her name was Kim Bradshaw. And she told me her husband's name was Terry. And boy, I got impressed in a hurry. And she messed with me a little while, and all of a sudden, she come back and said, he wasn't the Terry Bradshaw. He was a policeman there in Alexandria, and I mean, she was a horsewoman. She loved to talk horses, and I had a little experience with him. And so we talked and talked and talked. She took her own money, bought me a pair of shoes, a shirt, all kinds of goodies that I could think of. Big bag before I left and everything like that. And she put a card in my thing that already addressed to her where I wouldn't forget to write her. And it's people like that. That's just one example. There's many more that, you know, like that. But it was a great adventure. And I mean, you know, I was kind of sad that I was going to have to go on it. But now that I went and got back all right, I'm glad.